Hello, esteemed gentlemen. You cannot cage the wind, no matter how tightly you try to hold it. Sigma males are the human embodiment of this truth. Unpredictable, untouchable, and entirely immune to the ordinary chains of control. Studies show that less than 5% of men operate entirely on their own terms, navigating life with a code no one else fully understands. And yet, the moment someone tries to impose rules, boundaries, or expectations on them, something remarkable happens. They don't just resist, they respond in ways so subtle, so psychologically precise, that it can leave even the most controlling personalities questioning their own sanity. From disappearing without a trace to weaponizing indifference, the reactions of Sigma males are a masterclass in autonomy, cunning, and silent power. And here's the twist that often goes unnoticed. Some of their reactions are almost entertaining. Yes, while you're stressing over your attempts to dominate, they're quietly laughing inside, turning the situation into their own secret playground. By the end of this, you'll see why trying to control a Sigma male is not only futile, it's like trying to pin a shadow with your hands. Brace yourself for 12 reactions so extraordinary, so unorthodox, that they'll make you rethink everything you thought you knew about control. Number 1. He forces self-reflection. When someone tries to control a Sigma male, the reaction is rarely direct confrontation. Instead, he responds in a way that makes the controller face themselves. It's subtle, almost surgical in its precision. Every attempt to manipulate him, every push to bend him to someone else's will, becomes a mirror reflecting the controller's fears, insecurities, and desires. Sigma males are masters of perception. They understand human behavior in a way that allows them to respond without losing their own power. He doesn't argue, he doesn't yell, and he doesn't over-explain. He simply behaves in accordance with his own rules. And that's what makes the attempt to control him backfire so spectacularly. When someone exerts pressure, they are exposed, often without realizing it. His calm detachment, his refusal to be swayed, makes the other person confront why they felt the need to dominate in the first place. Are they insecure? Are they afraid of losing relevance? Are they projecting their own limitations onto him? The Sigma male's resistance forces them to answer questions they wouldn't have asked themselves otherwise. It's a kind of quiet intelligence that's easy to miss but impossible to ignore once you notice it. The person trying to control him starts to see the cracks in their own behavior, their own selfishness, and the shallow foundations of their authority. It's uncomfortable because it's not a fight with him, it's a fight with their own ego. The Sigma male becomes a teacher without trying, a living demonstration that control is only an illusion when the mind and intentions behind it aren't aligned. This reaction is brutal because it doesn't just shut down control, it destabilizes the controller psychologically. They start questioning their own motives, choices, and even morality, all while the Sigma male moves through life untouched, unaffected, and entirely sovereign. His power isn't loud or violent, it's a mirror that forces others to reflect, a silent but devastating exposure of who they truly are when stripped of their attempts to dominate. In that sense, every attempt to control him is a journey into self-examination, and he walks away with nothing lost and everything gained. Number 2. He becomes a ghost in the system. When a Sigma male senses an attempt to control him within structured environments, whether at work, in social circles, or even family dynamics, his response is almost surgical. He doesn't react with aggression or confrontation. He simply becomes invisible in the ways that matter. He doesn't disappear physically, but he moves through the system in ways that make him untouchable. He identifies gaps, blind spots, and vulnerabilities, and he navigates them so precisely that control becomes impossible. Anyone trying to dominate him quickly realizes that their influence doesn't reach him, no matter how hard they try. He knows the power of subtlety. He doesn't have to make himself the center of attention. In fact, that would make him predictable and vulnerable. Instead, he works quietly, strategically, and deliberately. He fulfills obligations without giving leverage, participates without exposing weakness, and engages without committing more than he chooses. Those trying to control him notice the absence of typical reactions, the frustration, the arguments, the visible resistance, and they start to feel as though he's always one step ahead. He's physically present, but mentally and strategically untouchable, which makes his presence both essential and maddeningly elusive. This ghost-like behavior is deeply unsettling for controllers because it undermines their sense of power without them realizing it. They think they are in charge, but their rules, expectations, and manipulations fail to affect him. He becomes a shadow they cannot grasp, a presence that can't be corralled. Even in hierarchical systems, where influence and authority are supposedly defined, he finds ways to operate autonomously. He moves through tasks, relationships, and expectations with the precision of someone who understands every weakness in the system. Ultimately, becoming a ghost in the system is more than just avoidance. It's dominance without confrontation. He controls the situation by refusing to be controlled, rendering attempts at manipulation ineffective while keeping his life, choices, and mind completely intact. He doesn't just survive within structured systems. He thrives silently, untouchable, and untethered, leaving those who tried to control him frustrated, powerless, and forced to confront the limits of their own influence. The Sigma male doesn't need to fight. He simply makes control irrelevant. Number 3. He exposes control as a reflection of fear. When a Sigma male senses someone trying to control him, he doesn't just shrug it off or resist blindly. He sees straight through it. He understands that the need to dominate is rarely about him at all. It's a mirror reflecting the other person's fears, insecurities, and lack of self-mastery. The louder someone pushes, the more obvious it becomes that their attempts at control are a projection of their own inner chaos. Instead of reacting with anger or defensiveness, he responds with calm, deliberate behavior. He doesn't give them the satisfaction of a fight, nor does he play into their attempts to assert dominance. Every move he makes, every measured word, every controlled action is a demonstration that their control is irrelevant. It's subtle, but it hits harder than confrontation because it forces the controller to see themselves in a light they probably don't want to face. This exposure is quiet, almost surgical. By refusing to react in predictable ways, he forces the other person to confront their own motivations. Why do they feel the need to control? Why does their ego demand compliance from someone who refuses to bend? His calm presence becomes a mirror, reflecting their weaknesses with stark clarity. The Sigma male's power isn't in rebellion. It's in the stillness that makes their insecurities scream louder than any argument ever could. In essence, he turns control into a self-revealing exercise for the other person. They are left staring at the truth of themselves, the fear, the lack of self-trust, the compulsion to dominate, while he continues unaffected. It's not just resistance, it's enlightenment, delivered without a word of judgment, only the quiet, unshakable demonstration of his autonomy. Through this, the Sigma male doesn't just maintain his independence, he subtly teaches a lesson in self-awareness. He exposes control as a reflection of fear, showing that real power doesn't come from forcing others to bend. It comes from standing firm while letting others confront their own shadows. Number 4. He converts obstruction into motivation. When someone tries to control a Sigma male, he doesn't waste energy fighting or whining about it. Instead, he silently turns that obstruction into fuel. Every push, every expectation, every attempt to limit him becomes a challenge he absorbs and transforms into motivation. It's not about stubbornness or pride, it's about strategy and self-mastery. He sees control not as a threat, but as an opportunity to sharpen himself, to grow stronger, smarter, and more untouchable. He studies the attempt, understands the intention behind it, and then redirects the energy toward his own advantage. If someone tries to dictate his choices, he uses that pressure to refine his decision-making skills, to anticipate obstacles, and to become even more self-reliant. If people impose restrictions on his actions, he quietly works around them, learning patience, precision, and adaptability. Every effort to control him becomes a silent lesson, a way to test his resilience and a chance to develop skills others will never suspect he's honing. This reaction is almost invisible to the controller. They expect resistance, rebellion, or compliance, but the Sigma male offers none of that in a conventional sense. Instead, he absorbs the energy of the situation and converts it into something far more potent: momentum. The more someone tries to control him, the more disciplined, focused, and capable he becomes. What they see as pressure, he transforms into progress. In the end, obstruction doesn't limit him, it accelerates him. Attempts at control inadvertently make him stronger, wiser, and more strategic. The Sigma male's response is not reactive, it's evolutionary. While others expend energy trying to dominate him, he quietly turns the situation to his own advantage, proving that real power isn't about confrontation, it's about transformation. Every effort to control him becomes a stepping stone for mastery, leaving the controller exhausted and irrelevant while he advances, untouchable and unstoppable. Number 5. He overprepares for your manipulation. A Sigma male doesn't wait for someone to try to control him, he anticipates it. He studies patterns, reads intentions, and predicts the moves people might make long before they even act. Every attempt at manipulation is met with invisible preparation, layers of contingency plans and strategies designed to render that influence completely ineffective. It's not paranoia, it's mastery of foresight. He knows that the moment someone tries to dominate him, they are revealing their weaknesses and priorities. He quietly notes them, then ensures they can never use those insights against him. He overprepares not to confront directly, but to neutralize the need for confrontation altogether. If someone expects a reaction, he's already 2 steps ahead, having calculated responses that protect his autonomy while keeping him entirely in control of the situation. He doesn't rely on brute force or defiance. His advantage lies in anticipation. Every angle, every possible manipulation, every subtle attempt to sway him has already been considered and countered before it even happens. This preparation is almost invisible. To the person trying to control him, everything seems normal until they realize nothing they do actually works. Their pressure, their subtle threats, or their attempts at influence bounce off him as if they never existed. He's already adjusted, shielded, and maneuvered in ways that leave him untouchable. It's a quiet, calculated dominance. No drama, no confrontation, just absolute effectiveness. The brilliance of this behavior is that it transforms attempts at control into meaningless gestures. While others expend energy trying to bend him, he expends none, yet he remains entirely secure. Overpreparing isn't just about defense. It's about ensuring that no one can ever gain leverage over him, and that his independence remains absolute. By the time someone realizes they've failed, it's already too late. They've been outmaneuvered without ever knowing the game was even being played. Number 6. He transforms control into comedy. When someone tries to control a Sigma male, he doesn't always meet it with anger or resistance. Instead, he turns it into a quiet performance, transforming the entire situation into comedy. There's no shouting, no dramatics, just a subtle, almost imperceptible mockery that exposes the futility of the attempt. He highlights the absurdity of control without ever saying a word, and in doing so, the person trying to dominate becomes the punchline. He has a way of responding that is calm, measured, and seemingly casual, yet it carries a sharp undertone that only the keenest observer can detect. The attempts to dictate his actions, manipulate his decisions, or pressure him into compliance often end up being the source of his amusement. He might follow instructions to the letter, but with just enough nuance or timing that it reveals how powerless the controller actually is. It's a quiet, surgical form of mockery that doesn't require confrontation, only awareness. This reaction is devastating because it doesn't just frustrate. It humiliates without aggression. The person attempting control begins to realize how ineffective they are, how irrelevant their pressure has become, and how transparent their intentions appear. The Sigma male doesn't need to argue or retaliate. His subtle humor and unshakable calm expose the truth. Control over him is impossible, and the effort itself is laughable. He's turning your attempts into theater without the audience even knowing it. Every demand, every manipulation, every coercive tactic becomes material for his silent performance. It's a reminder that real power doesn't come from force or aggression. It comes from confidence, composure, and the ability to see the absurdity in others' need to dominate. In that sense, the Sigma male doesn't just resist control. He reframes it, showing that attempts to manipulate him are not threats. They're sources of quiet, undeniable amusement. Number 7. He laughs without humor. When a Sigma male senses someone trying to control him, he often responds with a type of laughter that is far from ordinary. It's quiet, restrained, and almost imperceptible, but it carries a weight that is deeply unsettling. This isn't laughter born from amusement, it's an acknowledgement. It's a subtle signal that he sees through the attempt, understands the motive behind it, and knows exactly how futile it is. That tiny, almost ghostly chuckle communicates more than words ever could. Your efforts don't matter. What makes it so powerful is its subtlety. It doesn't invite confrontation, it doesn't provoke anger, and it doesn't engage in direct resistance. Instead, it operates on a psychological level. The person trying to dominate him senses it, even if they can't fully identify why, and it triggers a creeping unease. There's something unnerving about a man who refuses to react the way you expect, whose amusement or disdain is so understated yet so clear that it dismantles your confidence without a single harsh word. This laughter is a form of silent mastery. It signals that he isn't impressed, intimidated, or manipulated. It's a reminder that the need to control him says more about the other person's insecurities than his weaknesses. The unsettling humor becomes a mirror, reflecting the futility, arrogance, and overreach of anyone attempting to dominate him. In this way, the Sigma male's laugh is not a trivial response. It's a weapon. It destabilizes, disarms, and exposes, all while leaving him untouched and completely in control. Those trying to assert dominance are left second-guessing themselves, questioning their approach and feeling the subtle sting of their ineffectiveness. He doesn't need to escalate, argue, or prove a point. His quiet, almost spectral laughter does it for him, making the attempt at control not just useless but almost embarrassingly transparent. Number 8. He studies you like a predator. When someone tries to control a Sigma male, something sharp awakens in him, a deep instinctive awareness. He doesn't react emotionally, he studies. Every word, gesture, and tone becomes data. He starts observing like a predator, not out of malice, but for precision. He watches how you move, how you think, how you manipulate, and he stores it all quietly. To the untrained eye, he seems calm and indifferent, but behind that composure is a mind mapping your patterns like a strategist preparing for war. He's not analyzing you for revenge. That would be too obvious, too reactive. He's doing it so he can't be blindsided again. Every attempt to control him becomes a live lesson in human behavior, and he learns fast. He picks up on the triggers you use, the emotional tactics you lean on, and the timing of your influence. He may not confront you immediately, but once he has you figured out, you'll never get the same chance again. The next time you try to manipulate him, your moves will fall flat because he'll already be 3 steps ahead, countering you without you realizing it. This is where Sigma males differ from everyone else. They don't fight control with noise, they fight it with understanding. Their calm observation is their armor. While others argue or get defensive, he's silently decoding you. He'll smile politely, appear compliant, or even engage casually, while mentally dissecting every move you make. That's what unnerves controllers the most, his quiet. His stillness feels like a mirror that sees too much. By the time you realize he's been studying you, it's too late. You've already revealed your strategy, your insecurities, and your limits. And he's already made the necessary adjustments to stay untouchable. The Sigma male's greatest defense isn't confrontation. It's awareness. He studies like a predator, not to strike, but to ensure that no one ever cages him again. His observation is his power, and once he sees through you, control becomes impossible. Number 9. He mirrors control to expose hypocrisy. When a Sigma male senses someone trying to control him, he rarely reacts with obvious defiance. Instead, he employs a far subtler, almost surgical tactic. He mirrors the behavior back. He doesn't do it to humiliate outright or start a confrontation. He does it to expose the underlying flaws and insecurities that drive your attempts at dominance. Every push, every demand, every subtle manipulation is reflected in ways that shine a light on your own contradictions. This mirroring is rarely obvious at first. He adapts your tactics, your tone, or your strategies, letting them play out in a context that subtly reveals their futility or hypocrisy. For instance, if someone tries to micromanage him, he might begin managing in the same meticulous, overbearing way, but with a twist that highlights the arbitrariness or absurdity of the original control. Your insistence on dictating terms becomes transparent, even ridiculous, because he's now holding up a mirror that makes your behavior undeniable. What makes this reaction so unnerving is that it doesn't feel like retaliation. He's calm, composed, and strategic, never overtly aggressive. Yet the effect is devastating. You start to notice patterns in your own actions, contradictions in your logic, and the ways your insecurities are dictating behavior you assumed was strength. He's forcing you to see yourself through his lens, and that lens is unflinching, precise, and brutally honest. By the time you realize what's happening, it's already too late. Your attempt to control him has backfired, revealing more about your fears, limitations, and hypocrisy than about him. The Sigma male doesn't need to fight directly or argue. He simply reflects your control, forcing you to confront the truth about why you felt the need to dominate in the first place. In essence, his subtle mirroring turns control into a lesson, showing that true power isn't about forcing others to bend. It's about exposing the cracks in those who try. Number 10. He makes control a test of character. When someone tries to control a Sigma male, he doesn't see it as an attack or a challenge to be met with force. Instead, he treats it as a test, a subtle, ongoing experiment that reveals the true nature of the person attempting to dominate him. Every word, every directive, every manipulation is data. He observes how you respond under pressure, how far you're willing to go, and where your principles bend. Your attempt to control him becomes a window into your patience, your morality, your cunning, and your limits. He doesn't confront you immediately or react emotionally. That would defeat the purpose of the test. Instead, He engages in ways that allow him to study you while remaining fully in control of his own behavior. He watches whether you resort to intimidation, deceit, or charm. He notes whether you stick to your values or abandon them when convenient. And he remembers. Every inconsistency, every lapse in integrity, every subtle manipulation is catalogued for future interactions. This makes your attempts at control almost meaningless. You may think you are exerting power, but in reality, you're giving him insight into who you really are. Your intentions, weaknesses, and character traits become transparent, and he adjusts his approach accordingly. He doesn't just resist. You've unknowingly handed him the tools to navigate future interactions with precision and foresight. By the time it becomes apparent, he has already gained the advantage. He understands not just the immediate situation, but the broader patterns of your behavior. He can predict your moves, anticipate your manipulations, and protect his autonomy without ever seeming defensive. In essence, the Sigma male transforms control attempts into a form of intelligence gathering. Every effort to dominate him is less about restraining him and more about revealing yourself, and in that revelation he becomes even more untouchable, strategically equipped, and quietly superior. Number 11. He crafts invisible exit strategies. When a Sigma male senses an attempt to control him, he rarely reacts with confrontation. Instead, he quietly designs a way out, a series of invisible exit strategies that make any attempt at dominance ineffective before it even begins. He understands that the most powerful response is not to fight, but to remain untouchable, untangled in someone else's web of expectations, rules, or manipulation. Every scenario is considered, every potential conflict, every subtle pressure, every coercive tactic is mapped, and a safe, consequence-free escape is already in place. This isn't about cowardice or avoidance, it's strategy. By preparing these exits, he ensures that control attempts lead nowhere. The person trying to dominate him may think they have leverage, but in reality, they've hit a dead end. Whether it's leaving a toxic environment, sidestepping unnecessary drama, or disengaging from manipulative people, he moves silently and deliberately, leaving no opportunity for retaliation. His presence is optional, his engagement controlled, and his freedom absolute. What makes this approach particularly devastating is its invisibility. Controllers rarely see it coming. They expect resistance, argument, or rebellion, but instead he simply removes himself from the equation in ways that feel effortless, natural, and almost imperceptible. The attempts at control collapse under their own weight, leaving the Sigma male untouched, while the controller is left frustrated, powerless, and questioning how their influence could fail so completely. By crafting invisible exit strategies, the Sigma male demonstrates that true autonomy doesn't require confrontation. It doesn't need to prove itself in arguments or displays of force. Instead, it operates quietly, ensuring that any attempt at control is nullified before it ever takes hold. In essence, he turns potential manipulation into a dead end, leaving others exhausted and irrelevant, while he moves forward with clarity, independence, and absolute sovereignty over his choices. Number 12. He detaches mentally while engaging physically. When a Sigma male encounters someone trying to control him, he often responds in a way that can be mistaken for compliance. On the surface, he may appear cooperative, agreeable, even accommodating, but beneath that calm exterior, he's completely untethered. Mentally, he detaches. He doesn't absorb the pressure, the expectations, or the manipulation. Instead, he observes, analyzes, and plans his next moves, fully aware that he alone governs his choices. This mental detachment is not indifference, it's strategy. By engaging physically without surrendering mentally, he maintains total autonomy. He can participate in conversations, projects, or obligations without ever ceding control of his mind. He assesses intentions, calculates potential outcomes, and maneuvers carefully, all while giving the illusion of cooperation. To the person trying to dominate him, it can feel like progress. They think they're gaining influence, but in reality, they've been rendered irrelevant. Their power doesn't penetrate the one space that truly matters, his inner decision-making. What makes this reaction extraordinary is its subtlety. There's no confrontation, no rebellion, no drama. He doesn't need to prove his independence with arguments or force. His detachment does it for him. He remains fully sovereign, moving through situations on his own terms while leaving others believing they've maintained some measure of influence. It's almost impossible to challenge because it's invisible. In effect, the Sigma male creates a private realm within the very space where control is being attempted. Physically, he participates. Mentally, he remains free. This duality is disarming, frustrating, and fascinating all at once. Anyone trying to control him can only see the surface, the appearance of compliance, while the reality is that he is untouchable. He operates entirely on his own terms, proving that true power isn't loud or visible. It's the quiet, unyielding mastery of one's own mind, no matter what pressures exist outside. In the world of Sigma males, control is never straightforward, and anyone who attempts to dominate them quickly discovers that their efforts are not just futile. They are revealing, instructive, and often quietly humbling. Sigma males respond not with predictable rebellion or overt defiance, but with a mastery of subtlety, strategy, and psychological precision. They detach while engaging, transform obstruction into motivation, mirror control to expose hypocrisy, and even turn attempts at dominance into lessons that reveal the character of the controller. Every reaction is calculated, deliberate, and extraordinary, ensuring that their autonomy remains untouchable, their presence unmanipulable, and their inner world entirely sovereign. What makes them truly exceptional is their ability to turn every attempt at control into an advantage. They study, anticipate, and adapt, making their every move a demonstration of self-mastery and silent dominance. They don't need to confront, argue, or fight because their independence is not dependent on external validation or resistance. It's an unshakable state of being. Attempting to control a Sigma male is like trying to pin down a shadow. The harder you try, the more evident your own limitations become. By understanding these reactions, we see not only the brilliance of Sigma males, but also the deeper lesson they embody. True power is internal, quiet, and strategic. It is not loud or aggressive. It cannot be forced, coerced, or manipulated. To attempt control over someone who embodies this is to confront the futility of dominance itself. If this deep dive into the extraordinary reactions of Sigma males captivated you, enlightened you, or even made you rethink the dynamics of control, don't keep it to yourself. Make sure to subscribe to the channel for more eye-opening insights. Smash that like button if this resonated, and share it with anyone who needs to understand the untouchable nature of true independence. Drop your thoughts in the comments below. We want to hear your experiences, your reactions, and your revelations. This isn't just content, it's a window into the minds of those who move through life on their own terms, and your engagement keeps the conversation alive.